My name is Dave Ashheim, and I'm going to be the moderator here. And I've got two great panelists. I started this company, Engage by Cell, about 15 years or so ago, and we have quite a presence in the mobile space, and I'll tell you more about that in just a second. But Max, I'll let you introduce yourself, and then you can introduce Stephanie.
Yeah, my name is Max Shelkoff, and I'm a mobile solutions consultant here at Engage by Cell. I'm located out of Central Illinois, but I work with clients every single day on kind of best tips, practices, how to get the account started, how to execute on goals, and all the different things that go along with getting accounts going and managing. And then we're also joined by Stephanie. Stephanie, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Stephanie Ruppel, and I work for Workforce Solutions Southeast Texas. And I'm IT mainly, and that's actually one of the reasons why I'm helping here today, is because I was part of the procurement for Engage by Cell, and I facilitate the usage and administer our users and help everyone just figure out the platform, which is really, really easy. So it hasn't been hard at all. So I'll let Max go ahead because I could just talk forever. So just go ahead.
You'll get a chance. Don't worry. I'm gonna hammer you home with all kinds of questions here about the success of it. So yeah, I think Dave's gonna talk a little bit more about Engage by Cell.
So this company, Engage by Cell, we've got quite a few different specialties: HR folks and training people and nonprofits, and have about 4,000 clients around the United States and around the world. And about 5 or 6 years ago, became very interested in helping the workforce development sector and vocational schools, technical schools. Quite a few of the folks here, in fact, in the chat window, it would be great if you could put down kind of your role. Are you a trainer or a counselor? So it would be great, Hannah, Kimberly, Susan, all of you folks, to kind of let us know what your job description is, because we started off really with workforce development, but it seems to keep on kind of growing as people want to use these mobile tools for a wide range of things. All right. Some of the folks that we work with are noted here, and we've got probably another couple thousand overall clients and maybe another 100 or so in the workforce development side. By the way, we will be sending everybody a copy of the video recording today, as well as a copy of these slides. So you don't have to take notes. You'll be getting that probably first thing in the morning. Here's one from Leslie, Communication and Outreach. Yeah, communication is obviously so important in workforce development. What's the problem that we're going to try to solve, and probably that Stephanie came to us with that as her issue? It's all about email. And as we say here, everybody is avoiding reading email, except for those of us here in the webinar, of course. I heard somebody say the other day, Max, that they view email as just another app on their phone that they check a couple times a week or so. Of course, that just kills me. Probably you too, Stephanie. You're probably an email junkie like Max and I are, but that's not a lot of your audience, and your customers are not reading their email. And so that's really what Max and I at Engage by Cell have tried to figure out. What we've done is we've taken two basic services, and in about 5 minutes, Max and Stephanie are going to have you text in, scan a QR code, so get your phone handy to see these in action. So what we started with is text messaging. And 6 or 7 years ago, it wasn't really that popular, but Stephanie will talk about this in a little bit. Text messaging, especially in job communication, has become so popular. So we help you get the message out via text. And maybe, Max, you can talk about the mobile side.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So with the text messaging, obviously you can deliver information, and that's kind of one half of the challenge. And then the other half is, what information are you trying to deliver, right? So the mobile web apps are essentially a very efficient repository for information that can be interactive, they can be engaging. And we used to build apps in the traditional sense of, you download it from an app store, and we ran into what we refer to as a download barrier, right? So it was just another hurdle for end users to overcome, of having to download something, have it be on their phone all the time, and do I have enough space for it, all, et cetera, all the different challenges associated with it. And ours are different in the fact that there is no download required. It's all URL based. So you're simply just pushing out a link with the text messages to one of the mobile web apps. And it's easy access to content. It can house all of your scheduling, your job fairs, all the different things that you want all of your end users to have access to. And along with that, reporting. I'm a data junkie myself. I know Dave is, and I'm sure Stephanie, being involved in IT, data is very, very important for you as well, right? Especially, how do I understand the ROI on my investment and time and different things like that. And with our reporting technology, you can get all of those answers very easily as well. Dave, if you want to go to the next slide.
Yeah, and just to summarize, I think this idea that you can send a text, people are going to be looking at it within, I don't know about you, maybe in the chat window, let us know when you get a text. Do you wait till an hour goes by? Do you look at it right away? Let us know in the chat window how you kind of behave. I think most people look at it within, I don't know, a minute or so, probably, because they feel it or they hear it. So if you use texting, you're going to get people's attention. And that's what you need to do, because your open rates are 20 or 30% on your email. And then when you include a link to your website, to your content, to a page like this that you see here, where you can store mobile content here, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it's a form to fill out. Maybe it's a link to where the job fair location is. You combine this, here's a text, like a tap on the shoulder, and then there's a bridge to other content. It's really this 1-2 communication punch that I think really has separated us and mobile in general, and why this has become just so popular. So Max, I'll let you take it over with Stephanie now to kind of review their story.
100%. So one, thanks again, Stephanie, for joining us. I think your case use is a perfect example of kind of the success story on how you transitioned it in and things like that. But what were kind of the initial challenges that you were facing that made you seek out kind of a text messaging platform or something along those lines?
Yeah, initially we had a lot of issues just connecting with our customers. And I'm talking about, the customers that, our case managers interacted with on daily or weekly, getting information from them, assisting, letting them know of, things that they needed to do or were coming up. Just that basic one-on-one communication. So it was the first time that we were even aware that they were having issues, because they wanted to use texting. They're like, well, and this, I want to say this was about a year before the pandemic. So being at the board level versus so I was kind of at a different level. So I was hearing it from a level down. I noticed there was a little bit of hesitancy from my supervisors. I don't know that they were really confident in allowing something, texting. They're like, ooh, I don't know, could we get in trouble? That was really always something. But that's when we first realized that there's actually a need. Like, people, like you said, people weren't look, their emails were just full, or the email they would give us would be, their secondary email wasn't really the one that they looked at a lot. So they just needed another avenue. So it was that and social media. So those two were the two, ways they were needing just that extra way of contacting people and just saying, hey, we need to talk, you know. So then the pandemic comes. So we did allow them to do on a minimal. We weren't using Engage by Cell by then. We were just, they had just found something that they thought was cool, you know, that they could use. So then the pandemic hits and we're like, okay, so not only do we need, we've got these virtual job fairs now. So we need to
That's a
get the
whole nother
message out.
challenge.
Yeah, it's a whole nother challenge. So we need to get the message out to people. Hey, we're doing virtual job fairs. We can't rely on like these little flyers that we would send out to people or have in our centers to let people know what's going on. So that's really when we really started social media and texting. So that those two things really is what pushed us.
And what kind of changes did you see by implementing texting into it?
Well, what was reported to us was that they were getting a lot more response, you know, from their customers. And our job fair numbers went way up. Like we were getting so many, you know, out of, you know, we were like, I don't know, between 70 and 80% participation in our job
Those are
fairs.
great.
So which was really, really good. And the way we were doing our texting was, and that which actually changed, because before we were doing just like, we'll send out a simple text, you know, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 days before the event. And so our numbers were pretty good. We're like, okay, that's pretty good. Then they started doing, okay, so we'll send out a text 2 or 3 days. Then like the day before, even the day of, and say, hey, don't forget our job fair today, you know, at this time, you know, y'all come down, you know. And I think
that's a beautiful thing about texting is that example you just provided is it's a phenomenal way to provide not only that kind of preemptive outreach, but that last minute touch too. I think that makes a huge difference and no one 5 minutes before an event is going to be checking their email. You know, that's just not, you don't have time, you're trying to get to the event or you have this going on, but text message, it's instantaneous and you're going to get that response right away, right? So that last minute little touch, I feel plays a huge role in seeing those increase in numbers and kind of going on your implementation. So you kind of saw that adjustment of doing it preemptively, like a week out, and then that last minute. How did the process as far as like going from day one implementation with your staff and everything, how did that go?
Well, okay, so the platform's pretty simple. So with it being simple, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, I just kind of, you know, went through, I think I made, this was a while ago, so, but I think I made just like a step-by-step little instruction. You know, we gave it to like, I don't know, maybe like 10 of our, and that's another thing I like about Engage by Cell. They don't limit you on your users.
Yeah, that's
so
a
it's
huge
nice.
advantage. Yeah.
Yes, that's really nice. You know, because we've got people in different departments that need access to it, and sometimes they don't need it as much as some other people. So it's nice to be able to have that flexibility to say, okay, I'm going to give the managers, and then they're going to be able to give to whoever they need at that point in time to do their texting, and they can schedule their texts, and they can, it's really nice. And that, you know, you save your text so you can reuse them. You've got your lists of, I like the lists.
Yeah. How do you get the phone numbers into those lists?
Okay, so like for our job fairs and stuff, at first we started by just like, we had like a little, like on our website, we had our little code up there that said, I don't know if you want to show it real quick, but
yeah, Dave, do you have that handy, the call to action?
Yeah, so we started with this where we're like, okay, here's our job fairs. If you want to be notified of our job fairs, you know, text this code to this number. Well, before it was a little short code, but now we've got our long number here. Yeah, so if they text that to our number, we're going to notify them of all our upcoming job fairs. And of course, once they've found a job and they don't need any more, they can opt out. But the other way we've kind of built our list. So that was kind of slow going, because it takes a while for people to really kind of opt in and stuff.
Mhm.
Was since we work primarily, in Texas for TWC, and TWC has their own kind of job bank called Work in Texas. So we're able to run a report and with our current customers, and if they've given us their cell number, we can grab that and we can export that into an Excel spreadsheet, upload it into Engage by Cell, and have our kind of our little database there of numbers for our folks. So
yeah, and being from the IT side of things, you definitely, in the conversations that you and I have had, you've kind of illustrated the importance of a couple different factors when looking for vendors. And I believe, do you remember what I'm talking about? How you touched on how cybersecurity concerns and all those different things.
yes.
You kind of want to elaborate on the different requirements that you're kind of facing nowadays, especially in this new cybersecurity orientated world we're living in and things like that.
Yes. So pretty much every vendor or third-party product, anything that's going to have our customer information uploaded into it, or housed, hosted, or anything that touches our data, basically, we have to make sure that they have some security policies in place. So what our board does is we require our vendors to at least have like a SOC 1 or SOC 2 certification, and just have some sort of security program in place so that we know our customer data is being protected, because we're not going to be our own texting company, so we have
right,
to
right, absolutely.
Exactly, to our vendors. So that helps a lot that Engage by Cell has that security program in place.
100%. And all of our training and employees were all located within the United States. So accessibility is very high. We work across all domestic timelines, or time zones rather. So that's always a huge important factor when you're talking about a service that's providing technical support and things like that. Kind of last question, if you had any advice to an organization or an individual looking to kind of implement text messaging or into your strategies, do you have any just whole big picture advice that you'd like to relay to them?
Just find a company or a vendor that is easy to work with and can obviously is secure, has a security program, and will obviously fit in your budget. That's always
important. Yeah,
that's always important. And is easy to understand. The platform has to be pretty easy to understand, because you're going to have, as IT, I'm not the person that's texting customers. I totally can understand it, but it's got to be understandable, and you're sending texts out, to clients, to customers. You don't want to mess up, really.
right.
It's not like once you send your text, it's gone. So you want to make it where it's almost foolproof. And we've had no problem. I mean, even we had so much staff turnover recently that I was really kind of worried. Some of our other systems like DocuSign or whatever, they're very powerful. I like it personally, but when it comes to a new person, it's not easy for them to just jump right into. But for Engage by Cell, we haven't had a problem. It's something that's it's pretty simple to transfer, especially since we have already pre-done texts. All they have to do really is how to import the new numbers, basically,
Right.
and schedule out the text to go out. So
Personal example, I'm in the same boat that many, it sounds like, of your employees have been. Within my first day or two of working at Engage by Cell, I was sending out text messages. I mean, I was jumped right on board, performing demos with clients and helping, and the platform's super user friendly. It's no more difficult than working a Microsoft word processor document or anything. You're simply just typing in what you want to go out, and that's about all there is to it. Dave, do you mind
Max,
pulling-
yeah, I've got a question for Stephanie. Stephanie, you touched on your boss was a little hesitant about, oh my, text messaging, but you were saying to us before we got on the webinar about how COVID has kind of changed people's view about the urgency and getting people to actually read messaging. What's your advice for folks that are on the webinar today that are thinking, man, I don't know if I can get my board or my boss to try this new technology called texting, which of course isn't really that new, but what's your ammunition? What should they say to anybody that is a naysayer in their organization? Did you get much pushback?
Only in the beginning. But actually once COVID hit, they were pretty much on board for anything that even minutely would help
engagement, yeah,
get things out. Yeah, I don't expect a lot of supervisors to be so wary nowadays.
Yeah.
I expect they may even have told some of our listeners to be on this webinar right now, because they're probably really looking for it, because I know there's a lot of people that are using texting and they've seen the improvement just like we have. And I'm sure going back to them, it's getting to them to know, hey, it's almost proven, it's almost proven that if you text someone, they're either at least number one going to read it. They may not act on it, but
right.
if you have that first, at least they read it. You have that, because a lot of stuff's like email. You don't even know if they may never read it.
Right.
So if you can get to that, then I think you have a higher probability that they're going to act on it. So, and I really thought we would have a lot of opt-outs, but we really haven't. Especially once we started to kind of increase our outgoing texts, where we were kind of doing those extra reminders, like, ooh, I hope people don't, I don't know, get upset's the right word, but annoyed a little bit.
Yeah.
By having, maybe it's too many texts, but I haven't seen that. So we're not going to pull back yet on that unless we see some, pushback from our customers.
Yeah.
I think they might like that extra reminder, oh, wait, yeah, maybe I should go to that job fair, or, oh, I didn't mean to do that, so maybe I should do it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the same way too. I will have, oh yeah, I want to go to that. And then 2 days later, I'm like, what happened? And then, oh, a reminder. Okay, yeah. So I don't see it as an annoyance. I see it more of as a reminder. So.
And you use texting not only for reminders, but I'll go back sharing my screen for even trying to take the temperature of some of your audience, right? So even polls and surveys, you might push out a text. So tell us what we're seeing on the screen.
Okay, so this is kind of just a general like customer satisfaction survey that we send out. So with Work in Texas, we have a system called Boss Greeter that as people, when these are the people that come actually visit us or they call into our call center. So what we'll do is we'll get that report, and like twice a month, we'll send out a customer satisfaction survey text. So it'll be a link, we'll send out a link to a form that can be filled out on our website that answer these simple questions. And we do have a comment where they can leave a comment if they want. So we ask these simple questions and they submit it, and it gets stored in a database. And then from that database, we run a report that looks just like this.
Great.
So it's kind of a whole workflow that we do for our customer satisfaction surveys.
And you're seeing more response than if you would have sent it by email.
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely.
Yeah.
Or just if it was just sitting on our website or something. Yeah, we wouldn't get nearly as many. I mean, this was, I don't know, like 15 days, 310.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah.
Any questions before we move to another topic for Stephanie? If so, go ahead and put them in the chat window. Max, talk about this second service, which is this mobile web component too. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the mobile web app, if you want to slide to the next slide there, Dave.
Yeah.
Yep. So these are, again, URL based. They look, feel, and act just like a downloadable application would, with clickable icons and things like that. But in its most basic form, it's simply a repository that can very easily host information of any kind. So that can be your job fairs, your training career opportunities, all the different scheduling that you want people to have access to. So really our two main goals are, one, to increase engagement, right? So that can be via the text message being your primary means of communication. And then two, increase that ease of access of the information. So being able to communicate the information is one challenge, but what information and how do I get them or get it to the people is how the mobile web apps kind of fall into that functionality. And if anybody would like to scan that QR code, if you want to pull it up, and I'll do it with you right now, you'll get a nice little example of how the Newark Workforce Development Board is utilizing it. And you'll get a better understanding of what I'm talking about here, how they have their upcoming job and hiring events, workshops and training opportunities, contact us. So that's always an important key feature as well, right? Half the challenge is, if I have a question, who do I ask, right? So that is another thing that we commonly see as a use case on these. If you want to go to the next example too, pretty please, Dave. Goodwill, we work with a lot of different Goodwill organizations. And within those organizations, you can scan that QR code if you'd like as well. That'll demonstrate what their use case is and kind of a different look and feel to it. And of course, we'll help with design elements and kind of best tips and tricks and case uses and things like that we've seen with success in the past. We don't necessarily help with the content aspect of things though. We're very good at communication, all things mobile-based communication, technology, et cetera, but you probably don't want Dave and I building out your workforce content, right? But so we can definitely help you as far as design elements and things like that go. And then I want to get into some different examples with everybody, kind of showing how the two platforms can work together. If everyone could please take out their cell phones and text the word demo to 56512 or scan that QR code. And
that'll pop up text messaging on your phone.
Yep.
But we want to send you some examples. We went and looked at many of our clients and picked 5 or 6 different examples of our clients from just the last 2 or 3 days. And so I think you'll get a kick out of seeing these texts. So go ahead and participate. And Max, I'm going to stop sharing, and then you can pull up the dashboard because Ron and a few others kind of asked about, is this a Google interface or what's the interface? So I think you'll all get a kick out of seeing the dashboard that Stephanie's team uses. All right, Max, let me stop sharing, and then you can share your screen when you're ready.
Perfect. Let me know when you see the screen.
Yep, it's perfect.
Perfect. All right. So by everyone either scanning that QR code and getting the text message teed up or texting demo to 56512, you have all subscribed to our 8:30 webinar list. So Dave was just mentioning how we had put together kind of a highlight list of the different mobile web apps that some of our workforce development clients are using. And I'm going to go ahead and send those out to everybody right now.
And in the chat window, everybody let us know if you get a text. It should say, like you see in the top left, check out some examples.
I got mine, so it should look something like that. Stephanie, are you participating?
Yes.
All right.
I'm looking at it right now.
And it's super fun to go. You don't have to do it now, but it'll be really fun after, when we're done in 5 or 6 minutes, to go check out Middlesex and Gloucester County and the Goodwills and all these different organizations and how they use this mobile platform. And just imagine you have a new job fair, you have a survey like Stephanie was talking about, you have some training. You can grab that URL to your site or the site that Max showed you and push that out. And Max has got another couple examples here that he's going to push out that are representative of what our clients are doing just this week.
Yes. So here I've sent out an example, very simple. You can see, good morning, job seekers. Max from Job Center here. Anything I can help you with? So this is a good opportunity to kind of send out that just initial, we're here to help, right? I see this as a really frequent use case, and it can be an open-ended question because it'll encourage that engagement for them to discuss back with you, and you can get some of that feedback and more of that one-on-one dialogue. And everybody knows how useful that can be when you're trying to find the best fit or facing some of the unique challenges with some of these individuals and helping them overcome these hurdles. And that's something we see get utilized very, very frequently. Dave, do you have anything to add about that one?
No, I think that's good. We've also got a question about who are the vendors in this space. And when we send everybody tomorrow the recording and this PowerPoint, we'll also include a list of some people that are in the space of text messaging. There really isn't another company on the mobile web space, but we've got some names of other companies that do texting. Of course, nobody as great as Engage by Cell, but that's because we're biased. But we'll include that in the package that we send tomorrow. So if you want to, do a little comparison shopping, you can do that too.
And so the next example that I'm going to skip a couple examples ahead here, but I really want to send this one. And this one is, oh, sorry, I need to refresh my page. This example is going to be showing how you can embed a URL link into the text messages. And that is going to kind of showcase how the mobile web app or an existing website that you already have, if you have an online job posting board, which I'm sure many, if not all of you do, you can just simply embed that URL link into the text message. And the individuals and the end users can simply click that embedded URL link. Boom, takes you right there. Exactly, increasing engagement almost immediately, right? And that can be utilized for many, many, many different things within workforce development. Obviously, so much of what everyone does is URL based nowadays, so you can include that information and send it with just a text message. Instantaneous. And then this example, I might need to refresh my page. Yep. Bear with me, here we go. So this example, excuse me, is a training opportunity. Obviously, this is a good example of maybe what Stephanie was referring to, of one of those last minute, same day little last point touches that you say, hey, we got a training opportunity. It's at this address. We'll see it right then and there, right? So super simple, easily digestible, I think is key also. So with emails, they can get really long-winded. Text messages are straight to the point. You know, with that last text message about the training opportunity I just sent you, there's no questions about what that text message is, what that content is trying to deliver to you, right? It's immediate, it's digested, and the end user gets to the point right away. And then I'll refresh again in the opportunity. And then another super use case that we see is interview skill workshops. So really any kind of workshops that are interview related or career training opportunity workshops, things along those lines, job hunting workshops I've seen as well. And I'm sure many of you host those as well. And then here is what Stephanie brought up, the very frequent one that's happening right now is the virtual hiring event. All right, so these are 5 different examples here of just super common use cases. And then I just want to briefly go over the different lists. So these are the lists. Obviously, I made one for the 8:30 webinar, but let's say you had different audiences that you were trying to reach, right? So you could simply just check these different boxes with if you have different subscribers, and then you can manage the subscribers within those lists. So with the 8:30 webinar, and bear with me, there it goes. So this is everybody that's joined us today on the participating with the texting in and things like that. So you can assign these people different lists and different buckets. So if you have people that are specifically interested, maybe they just need internal training or they need help with resource management or something along those lines versus people who you know are looking for this specific job. You can cater towards your specific audiences really easily within this platform. Dave, is there anything you want me to highlight while we got it pulled up?
No, I think that's great, Max. And I think, as Stephanie was saying, it didn't take much training for her team to learn. We'll train as much as you like. I think once you get kind of the hang of sending out these text messages, what's so powerful is every one of you can get your own account. In most corporations or nonprofits, only one person has access to Constant Contact or MailChimp. But in this case, you know, you might be a counselor, a job trainer, or a vocational teacher. You can have your own account with your own 20 or 30 people that you're texting. And once again, it's not coming from your personal phone, which is kind of dangerous, but it's coming from this platform. Maybe we'll show a few more slides and then we'll wrap this up, Max. I think one thing we wanted to show, everybody always wants to know, how do you get started and what does it cost? I'll take the top and Max, you can take the bottom. So we've got different plans based on the size of the audience. Stephanie chose to use text messaging, maybe later the mobile platform, but at the moment they really love the texting side. And they send out tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands over the course of months messaging. So there is typically a small setup fee, and then we've got a monthly fee. Some of the smaller workforce development clients pay $150 a month, and that can go up. And then you would buy a bundle of text. So when Stephanie needs another bundle of text, someone from her team would call and say, I need 10,000 or I need 1 million texts, and then we price them out based on how many texts you're buying. We also offer a money-back guarantee. So every one of you that's on the webinar today, just let us know if you want a test account. We'll turn it on for you. We'll give you time to play with it and practice. And then if you don't like it, you don't have to pay anything. So that's how the plan and the pricing start. And then maybe, Max, you can wrap it up on the training.
Training is unlimited with each account. So obviously assistance and, like I mentioned earlier, kind of your best practices is something we can coach you through, and how you go about obtaining your contact lists and things like that. We're all here to help. So I personally, with my accounts, I'm available 7 days a week. You know, I understand that just because outside of normal business hours doesn't mean that you're not going to run into some challenges sometimes. But as far as design elements, we have amazing graphic design people within our team that can help make things look very pretty, and functionality and all of those things. And like I mentioned earlier, I think a huge part is we operate all within the United States, so we're very accessible across to all different time zones. So someone's always available, essentially. And most of our clients, as far as like with the mobile web apps, we can have it technically up and running in a day. You know, it's not a huge heavy IT lift or anything like that. Text messaging, we can have the account live and you can start playing with it and all that stuff same day. You're going to be potentially waiting a couple days for your localized phone number that you're going to want, obviously, that we're going to be waiting to be assigned to you from the providers, because you want a local number typically, just so it doesn't seem like someone from some far off land is reaching out to you. You know, you want it to feel like home is where your career's at and where you're going to plant your roots and go from there. But we're all very open to help, and accessibility is very high. So
some folks are asking how to get a test account. All you've got to do is in the chat window, put your name and phone number or email, and then Max will call you and set you up with a test account, and then you can start, you know, by tomorrow or the next day, you can start sending out some text messages. And maybe you just start with your internal team just to see how it feels and the type of messaging. And then we can help you with kind of the formatting or the formality part of it too. But I think, you know, my takeaway, and probably Stephanie, I'll let her summarize too, is it's time to try new technologies that are going to save you money. We were talking earlier before the call about DocuSign versus the old-fashioned way. And Stephanie, there's some similarities between texting and DocuSign. DocuSign can just make life so much easier if you're, instead of mailing documents and printing. Same thing on texting. So what's kind of your takeaway suggestion, Stephanie, on to all these associates that are wondering whether it's time and right for them?
Well, you know, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit there. Like, the way people work now, it's just texting is expected. Even with, you know, my doctor now, I get texts from them about my appointments. I get reminded all the time of things now, which is a norm. I know, like a couple of years back, it was more just, you know, you got texts from your family, you got texts, you know, from people you knew. You weren't getting just random texts from businesses and stuff. But now it's pretty ingrained. It's getting, you know, it's proven. Really, it's not anything to be scared of. So I think it's just going to make everything easier. You know, communicating with anyone, actually. It has really just, I mean, it's almost a necessity these days.
With anyone, that's right. Thanks, Stephanie. Any more questions for Stephanie before we break? If you do, just put them in the chat window. Otherwise, thank you, Max, and thanks, Stephanie, for helping out so much. This has been great. We will also include the email of all three of us, so you'll get that tomorrow as well. Feel free to email any one of us, and I think you'll be glad to get response, and we'll hopefully get you up and going and give it for a little trial. But that kind of wraps up our session today. Thanks so much for participating. We'll hang out here if you want to add your email. I see Leslie and a few others have added their email. If you want to add your email or ask Stephanie a question, we'll be around for a few minutes. So feel free to stick around and ask us questions. Otherwise, thank you so much for participating. There's Lynn. Thanks, Lynn, for that. Anybody else want a test account? Just put your email in and we'll get you set up. And thanks, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a topic that people are wondering about. How would I use this, and how are people using it? I don't think it's necessarily so intuitive. So it sure helps to hear from someone like you talk about it.
Yeah, it does help to know that it's being applied to your business case, you know,
Yeah.
and successfully. So,
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, a lot of times, you know, you try to take a process or a software, services, anything, and you can see it in a different setting, but you're like, but how do I use it? I mean, we're workforce, you know, it's usually totally different situation
Right.
than, you know, a public company, you know,
Yeah.
where I can see being a public company actually being harder, because where do you get your list of customers, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't usually have just a huge database of, you know, people's texts or cell numbers. And not only that is you can't just spam people.
No.
So it's very important, you know that you get their permission, you know, to send, and you just have to keep that in mind, you know, just make sure you're not, you know, spamming anyone. And that was just one of our things too. We, at first, I think was one of the scary things is like, well, we don't want to get in trouble, you know.
Right. People will get mad.
Yeah, people will get mad, but we've had not a single, not to my knowledge at least.
Yeah, we haven't either. Nobody's texted back saying.
Well, to make it so easy, if you just say, hey, stop,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we're not, you know, and then your platform makes it where we can't accidentally, because it would be an accident, put them back on and just kind of keep it going. So that helps a lot as well.
Yep.
Hey, once they say stop, that means stop. And then they would have to actually reinitialize their acceptance, you know.
Well, and I think your audience, to your point about corporations, is so different. These are people that are in somewhat of a desperate situation. Not everybody, but they need a new position, or they really want a new position. This is, they're welcoming. If Amazon is hiring, if Walmart is hiring, if Caterpillar is hiring, I want to know that. And thank you for reminding me 3 times to come to the
job fair,
the job fair, or the virtual job fair, or thank you for the training. I know it's on your website, but I'm never going to spend the time to go to your website and look at it. So I think if there's a use case for these mobile services, it's for people that are struggling either economically or professionally, trying to figure out what's their next move. They want this help, and they'll be on for a month or 2, and then they'll reply stop, they'll be off, and the next batch will come on.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we've, like I said, we haven't had any issues. We haven't had any staff having any problems, other than needing access or not even needing access anymore. But so it's been great. I mean,
right. Well, we appreciate your help, and thank you for all of you that have been listening into our little informal chat with Stephanie and Max, and we really appreciate it. We'll wrap up now. We will send everybody information tomorrow. And thanks so much, Stephanie. Really, really thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Bye. Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.